I'm here at the Rhine in Wesel, beautiful, mild summer kind of day where we want to check out the Xiaomi 17 Ultra against the Honor Magic 8 Pro. You can see that in terms of camera bumps they are very similar. In terms of sensors, they also only feature 3 sensors here, and you can see the camera specifications on screen right now. 1-inch type sensor on the Xiaomi, that is a special sensor with low-fick technology, very interesting, truly. Optical zoom on the Xiaomi as well, which is also quite fascinating, especially as we have this variable zoom only with smaller sensors, like we know this from Sony. Sony was the only one doing this so far. And then we have a large 200 megapixel, I think it's the same sensor maybe, on the Honor Magic 8 Pro, but without the variable zoom. But yeah, we have to see which one is better here, because this one features 85 millimeters, where the Xiaomi starts at 75, but it can go up to 100 millimeters, so quite interesting. And then we have some front-facing shooters there as well, and I think we start off with the front-facing videos. So, selfie camera, 4K 30 on both. Which one is handling HDR better? Appears to me that the Xiaomi has a bit of better HDR there, with not so much blown highlights there. We have 0.8 and 1 times magnification on the Honor. Sadly, there's no nice animation zoom in or out. Let's keep it at 0.8 and 0.8, or I hope it's 0.8 there on the Xiaomi as well. But yeah, you can clearly see Xiaomi, I think, has better HDR here for sure. We have the cool feature on the Xiaomi that we can switch also to the back-facing cameras if we want to. Honor sadly still doesn't have it. Only the Honor 100 series, so the 200, the 400, or the number series, let's say, the latest, because the 50, the 70 and the 90 also had this feature. Can switch to the back-facing cameras while recording. Yeah, so which one has better colors? Which one is better in terms of stability? We have autofocus. Yeah. Do we have autofocus on the Honor? I thought it has, but I learned it is just the hyperfocal distance that makes a lot of things in focus there, but it doesn't really have autofocus. So which one is better for you? Does it matter to you even? What do you think? Let's check out the main camera sensor. The main camera sensors now on both, vlogging style with the 1 times sensor, 1-inch type sensor on the Leica powered Xiaomi 17 Ultra, and on the Honor we have a 101.28 inch size sensor. Which one is doing better? Also in terms of HDR. What do you think? Which one is better here? How good is stabilization on both? How good are colors? And what do you think about the performance on them? We can record 4K 30, 4K 60 and 4K 120 frames per second on both. The Xiaomi also has 8K 30 frames per second recording if you need to. We can go and switch to the ultra-wide angle. 4K 30 without any issues on both. Which one is performing better here? Which one has better white balance? Which one is closest to the main camera sensor? Which one is performing better here with stabilization, HDR and everything else? So this is a pretty cool place here. Very sunny, nice day, perfect conditions for testing those out. Let's perform a little zoom test as well. So we start off with the ultra wide angle here. We have teeny as you see there, and it's a wider definitely on the Honor. We can go directly to 2x. We want to focus on this boat there. I go to 3.7x here, I go to 3.2 and then I go to 3.7x. CPA 5.5 rating on the Honor is helping with stabilization. I can optically zoom in up to 4.3 and now 8.7, which is 2x or 4.3, yeah. And then here on the Honor I have to do this manually as well. So let's do 8.5. 8.7 is actually, yeah, which one is performing better in your opinion? And we can go to 10x maybe. There we go. And here as well to 10x. So which one is performing better in terms of stability? Which one is better in terms of details? And let's go 15x. And here we can go 15x as well. Which one has clearer details there? Can even zoom up to 30x on the Xiaomi. And let's go back to the ultra wide angle. Yeah, which one is performing better for the zoom? The photos, as we see here on the left, we have a bit of more contrasty look on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, where the Magic 8 Pro has a bit less contrast. I took another shot of the Magic 8 Pro. This is the Vivid one and the Leica Vibrant. The Vivid one is the default on the Magic 8 Pro, but I thought, at least on screen, it looked like too vivid, so I switched it to the authentic or the more natural kind of look. I think it's called natural on the Magic 8 Pro. I left it to vibrant on the 17 Ultra because I think it is very, very close together if you see those pictures here side by side. Very close together between those two. We have a smaller sensor on the Honor, but when we go in here and go in here, there's not much of a difference. Apart from, I think the Honor is sharpening things up a little bit more. You can see the white outline around this here, where it is not so much evident there on the Xiaomi. And apart from slightly bit sharper here, where he's a bit softer there, but also towards the sides, you can see how close they are. Maybe a little bit warmer here on the Xiaomi. They're very, very close together here in this mode. From now on, I'm using the natural colors on the Magic 8 Pro. The Selfie with the front-facing camera here using the portrait mode, both are doing a fine job. The Xiaomi has the more accurate face color, where it's just too warm on the Magic 8 Pro, is always giving us a bit of more warmth in the shot. But the shot is nicer because it's a bit softer and it's like over-sharpened to oblivion almost on the Xiaomi. It's just simply too sharp and yeah. I'm really looking ugly there because everything can be seen there. But here it's a bit soft and a bit nicer to look at. So for portrait shot, I definitely would take the Magic 8 Pro, even though it's a bit too warm. When we check out the ultra-wide angle, we can see that the Magic 8 Pro has a wider field of view, but it's also a bit warmer again and punchier. Even though we are using the natural colors, it is punchier than the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. The rest of the colors are almost the same, like identical. This is like not much of a difference. Maybe you can see here this white of the clouds are a bit whiter than here, and this blues are a bit darker than here, but that's it. It's a bit more punchy on the Magic. The Magic also looks a little bit more artificially sharpened. This could also explain everything a little bit. And also towards the sides, you can see again the white outlines here that you can also see it, but they're not so protruding there on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. So even though we have the wider field of view, and usually it's like advantage of the Honor Magic, it's breaking this advantage to its over sharpening that just looks a little bit unnatural, where the Xiaomi keeps it also fairly wide with its 14 millimeters, but it's not over sharpening so much, so way more natural looking. And you can see the punchy greens here that the Xiaomi does better. So in general, I think I would give them the same points there for the daytime. Then we check out the telezoom. Both can do 85. It's the native and only optical zoom on the Magic, where the Xiaomi has 75, 80, and then up to 100 millimeters that you can zoom in. But I matched it with 85. For some reason, maybe the focus was off, or it was a bit shaky, even though we have a high shutter speed. Both, it's a bit higher here on the Magic. But the Magic is sharper. It's definitely also over-sharpening a bit, but the Xiaomi looks a bit weird, like a bit soft and a bit maybe overexposed there. It's a bit more contrasty, a bit sharper there on the Honor. It might be a fluke, it might got confused with something with the focusing system, I don't know, but in terms of detail levels, they are almost on par, which is like a compliment towards what Xiaomi did. We go up to 10x on both, which is a optical and digital crop on the Xiaomi. So optical until 100 millimeter, and then it's cropping in digitally. On the Honor, it's completely digitally. When we check it out now, you will see way more natural looking on the Xiaomi. It's just too edited, too artificial looking on the Honor. Look at this chain here, compared with here. The detail on the Xiaomi is really fantastic. Look also at the curtains there. The color on the Honor is a bit off. The Xiaomi is way better there. Has the better optics. It's just simply like this. It has the closer zoom, and then the optical zoom can perform a little bit better magic there. Look at the River Lady and here, both readable, but which one looks clearer to you? It's definitely the Xiaomi that is here, has a major advantage when it comes to 10x. And then another one, which is like when you press the telezoom button again, it's going to 200 millimeter here on the Xiaomi, and it's getting to 170, which is like 5.6 something kind of magnification. There's this little interesting electric housing here, or the wires are, and someone painted like this very nice duck that is like, trying to snatch something from underneath the river there. And yeah, it's like probably the Rhine. You see the difference in how they proceed the colors. It's way more brighter on the 17 Ultra. It's a bit darker and dirtier on the Magic. The Magic is, I think, a bit more correct because the Xiaomi is brightening things up a bit too much. Both have the structure of this little house itself nicely captured, but when you take a look at the details, I think it is a bit more artificial looking on the Honor in comparison to the Xiaomi. And where does this come from? Maybe from a little bit more sharpening that the Honor is applying here. But the rest looks almost identical between those two. And then another shot which is 2x on both 46 and 46, which is interesting because I think they both had 23 millimeter, I think is the 1x. So both very, very close, both the same shutter speed, same ISO, just difference in colors. Because we have Leica Vibrant on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, here it is really kicking in and making everything vibrant, where on the Honor it is really, in contrast to all the other pictures that had also the natural colors, looking more natural now on the Honor, finally. The rest here is nearly identical. It's like a little bit softer here, it seems to be a bit sharper, but I think it might be only the contrast being a bit higher on the Xiaomi. And the rest is like almost identical. Also here, both look a little bit artificial and sharpened up there. I like the reflection, this is why I took the shot there. And both are doing a fine job. So when it comes to the main camera sensor, even at 2x, you can go in here, and there you can see a little bit of the advantage maybe of the larger sensor of the Xiaomi, with the shades there being a bit more clearer. But it's such a subtle effect that I would give them the same kind of points there for the main cameras. And then we tested out a bit of HDR because we have a low fix sensor. I think both are using a low fix sensor. Xiaomi is definitely using it. I'm not sure about the Magic 8 Pro. But this is also quite interesting how they render this. So in Leica Vibrant, also on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, it keeps more shadows in. Where the Magic 8 Pro in this high contrast scene is brightening up the shadows a lot. You can see it here with the stones in the foreground, or the little wall there. The sun itself, in the exposure there, it's a matter of preference. Both handle it pretty nice. It's a bit more warm, a bit colder here. And I think the lens flare is a little bit more obvious here on the Xiaomi, on the Honor in comparison to the Xiaomi that has better lens coating there. And the rest, the details, almost identical. Not much of a difference there between those two. It's a preferential kind of thing, which you like better there. Also when it comes to the details there in the background, both are doing a fine job. It's just like this has like, because it's brightening everything up a little bit, less shadows there, and a bit more like of this lens flare kind of effect. So which one do you prefer? Which one is the best? Like I said, main camera sensors basically identical. Ultra wide angle I would say also identical. And telezoom, I think there the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is winning against the Honor Magic 8 Pro. What do you think? I have quite a few portrait shots that I want to compare as well. We have, of course, a Leica Master Mode. Now, actually, it's like just called Master Mode. And we have Hardcore Portrait Mode. These are the default settings that you get. Which one is better in terms of colors? I look a bit pale there on the Magic 8 Pro, I have to say. And I look a little bit warmer there on the 17 Ultra. When I go to 100% view on this shot, by the way, this is 2x shot on both. both 46mm. You can see how much more natural I look on the Xiaomi in comparison to the Honor. The Honor is just like redrawing my eyebrows so much, and the face is so wide that it's just so artificial, and it's smoothing things out. And here it keeps the face color, the warmth of the light there, the cold of the other light there, little pores of my skin. It's just, I think, better on the 17 Ultra. Now we check out 85mm on both. Again, a huge difference in terms of white balance, a bit overexposed, a bit whitish looking, but looks very nice there on the Honor, I have to say. But when you compare it with what the Xiaomi is doing, Xiaomi again, it's way more natural with my eyebrows there, way more natural, not so over sharpened. Both are doing a fine job at this, but I think the more natural kind of shot you definitely get again with the Xiaomi. If I have to pick one, it would be the Xiaomi. The next one is 135mm on both. Both have this option, and it's basically because we have an optical zoom looking very good on the Xiaomi. Where here, woo, very artificial looking. The eyebrows, you know, it's just, I don't have to compare it. It's clear as day that the Xiaomi is destroying the Honor there. And then we have 200, and we have, I think, 170mm on the Honor. And yeah, do I have to say anything? It's clear as night and day the Xiaomi is destroying the Honor in this regard. Now another scene, 46mm again, 2x, and with a bit of a background bright light. Again, the Xiaomi creates this, where the Honor creates this. Which one would you pick? Probably the Xiaomi, because the Honor looks just too artificial. The next shot here, which is 35mm, an option that I have on the 17 Ultra, so I can crop in with the main camera sensor. I don't have the possibility to create 35mm shots on the Magic 8 Pro in portrait mode. What the hell? What's going on? So I have to rely on the 23mm here. Nevertheless, this shot looks the most natural on the Honor ever, but still, it is in comparison to the Xiaomi. The Xiaomi is like a true photo, where the Honor is like a smartphone photo. And then I switched it out to different styles, because some people say, you're not using all the styles. I cannot check all the styles, but I wanted to check a few of those. This is hardcore classic on the Honor Magic 8 Pro, and it looks nicer in terms of colors, not so overexposed anymore. Xiaomi 17 Ultra here, white face for some reason when I'm using the Leica Master, not the Master mode, but the Leica Master, I think it's called. And detail levels, again, the Honor is over sharpening everything here. It's a bit soft on the Xiaomi, but in this case, because my face looks a bit better there on the Honor, maybe I'm going with the Honor there. Then we have the film looks that both have, like a negative, classic negative film that we can have here, and classic positive film if you want to. It's a lot darker because on the Xiaomi, because the Xiaomi is doing a lot with its contrast levels, where the Honor Magic is also a bit darker, but it's not as dark. Look at the shirt here. Huge difference. Like the Honor is more realistic there in this case, but look at here. This is 135, this is 100. A bit of a difference there. But so artificial looking on the Honor that I would any day take the maybe a bit too darkish kind of looking Xiaomi in this case. So in portraits, the Xiaomi is dominating against the Honor. The Honor doesn't really stand a chance because it looks still too artificial for portrait shots. Nighttime video, 4K 24 frames per second here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. What do you think about the stabilization? What do you think about this 1-inch type sensor? Walking towards the light here right now. What do you think about the audio quality? Because I'm using the internal audios, and a car is passing by. No, I decided not to pass by. It's another car not passing by. Let's go in here. Light now in the background, and I am facing the light now. Cars passing by anyway. Anyway, what do you think about this one here? Let's compare it with the other phone. 4K 24 frames per second, super night mode here on the Honor Magic 8 Pro. How well is this handling stabilization, colors? How good is this in comparison to a 1-inch type sensor? 101.28 inch size sensor, so a bit of smaller sensor. Standing now under the light here, what do you think about this one here? And now I'm walking away from the light, and this will be quite interesting. How good is it handling lens flare effects? I think it is a little bit of prone to having a lot of lens flare effects. I'm working towards the dark, and I'm turning around to the light. You can hear maybe a car passing by. How good is the audio here because I'm using internal mics? What do you think about this one here? The nighttime photos. We start off with the ultra wide angle, wider field of view, and a little bit more artificial looking on the Honor Magic 8 Pro. Look at the colors here, how they look like in comparison to the more uniform look on the 17 Ultra. Do you notice the difference between those two? Anyway, warmer, a bit of more, colder, kind of greenish kind of look, bluish, greenish here, bluish here. I'll say it like this. Both very slow shutter speed, but the Xiaomi obviously was struggling a little bit more, where it looks like a painting on the Honor. The Xiaomi is a bit less sharp because it struggled with the shutter speed there. So yeah, I would slightly give it maybe to the Honor, even though it looks a little bit painted there. License plate you can read on both, just a little bit unsharp there. In general, just like in daylight, in terms of detail levels, you don't see much more. You know, still the same. And then the opposite with the main camera sensor. The Magic 8 Pro stock is a bit more with slower shutter speed, and it's a bit less sharp there than the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Both handle HDR quite nice. There's a bit of lens coating is a bit better on Xiaomi. You can see this blue is going down even here, where here it's not so much. And also here, where here, yeah, I can see it's like shining on it, but not as smudgy as here. And look at the foliage here, but this is just like, in terms of detail levels, it's basically identical. There's not much of a difference between those two there. It appears to be a bit sharper, it's over sharpened for sure. Here it's a bit blurry because of the blurriness level, so would still equal themselves out. HDR, tiny bit better there on the Xiaomi in comparison to what the Honor is doing. So when we go into the next one, 85mm on both, the telezoom lens, you see that we have almost the same shutter speed, but a bit of difference in terms of colors. It's a bit warmer in total on the Honor. The Honor keeps this quite nice because this is really this color, where this more bluish kind of color here on the Xiaomi is correct for the outside sign, which is just too warm on the Honor. The inside sign, however, is warmer because it's newer, and this outside sign is older and has a cold kind of color there. Yeah, here readable on the Honor, which is quite surprising, where here it's just not readable on the Xiaomi for some reason. The rest basically identical. I don't see much of a difference between those two here. You can read the telephone numbers there if you want to order some döner or kebab. Possible. The open again, hard to read here, where here it's readable, so maybe better HDR on the Honor or better processing in total, like 30 sign here. Both readable, very nice. When we go into the 17 Ultra's ultra wide angle again, this is I think a bit better of a comparison. You can see both are doing a nice job there. It's a bit more sharpened, a bit more artificial looking there on the Honor. Honor has a wider field of view. It's a bit softer looking there on the Xiaomi. Xiaomi has a bit of narrower field of view, but both are doing a fantastic job there with this night photo, I have to say, for an ultra wide angle. Just more natural here, just more artificial there. Would give them the same points there. Also license plate check, good. Then the main camera sensor, here's where I think both are really on the same par. It's just a bit more contrasty by default on the Honor, on the Xiaomi in comparison to the Honor. There's a bit more cracks because of this more contrasty kind of look. They're visible, and you see that the bottom here is a bit more detailed and sharp on the Xiaomi. It's just so subtle, even if you go to the background here. Just so subtle, the differences between those two, that I would say are identical between those two. Not much of a difference. Just the color-wise, a bit more contrasty on the Xiaomi. Then another telezoom shot at 10x here. Here it becomes more evident and clear that the Magic 8 Pro is over sharpening. It is way more processing than the more natural look on the Xiaomi. You can see that every of those letters had this white outline to sharpen it up, but we don't have this here on the Xiaomi, which is quite nice. And it appears to be sharper as well, more detailed. Look at this here compared with here, the little strokes there, way sharper. I don't know why this is here bright blue. It's just sharper, it's better. It's a win for the Xiaomi. It's just for longer zoom, way more detailed, that you can see that are just not visible there on the Honor. It just cannot compete there with the variable zoom of the Xiaomi. Then another shot of the main camera sensor, just to show you it's hard to figure it out. Most of the shots be just identical. Here's just interesting, the Xiaomi left night, where here the Honor is trying to brighten the sky here for some reason, introducing some noise, where here it's like a bit cleaner there. Also sharper on the Xiaomi again a little bit, but the major difference that I wanted to show is you can see the shades there as well. Maybe a bit more sharpened up at the shades. You can see some artifacts going on that we don't have so much here on the Honor. But in the background, you can see there's a difference of the sensors. Here, it's one gray kind of gradient, where here you can see shades. So yes, there you can see the difference between those two sensors, but it's really, you have to pixel peep. Very, very hard to see the difference between those two. So for main camera sensor, I would give them the same points. And then telezoom again, ridiculous, what is it, 30 times, so 20x zoom, just to see the difference between those two. And again, it becomes very evident that, look at this sharpening, the outlines. Both are not super detailed, but it's way better there on the Xiaomi. And the Honor is using AI to optimize it. The Xiaomi is not even using AI. I can switch to the AI mode and then it gets even more better there, especially with the details there. You can see the Xiaomi is winning with its telephoto lens against the Honor Magic 8 Pro for sure. Then we have the Selfie. Selfie is basically identical with what we saw in daylight, just swapped. So the more artificial looking Xiaomi becomes more natural looking, and the more natural looking Magic becomes more artificial looking. So the warmth and the colors of my hair and my eyebrows more natural on the Xiaomi, a little bit less on the Honor. And when I go in here, sharpened up, very artificial looking, soft but very natural looking. So I prefer the Xiaomi here. So if you take the daylights and nighttime shots together, probably the Selfie cam will end up on the same kind of spot, because both have good capabilities there. And that's basically it for the nighttime shots. Ranking and conclusion, TLDR, the Honor Magic 8 Pro gets 4.620 points, but the Xiaomi 17 Ultra gets 4.713 points. So we have a clear winner here, which is the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. It's obliterating the Honor Magic 8 Pro. So where do we see the big differences? Is it really a huge difference? First of all, the main camera photo quality is identical. Yes, again, the 1-inch type sensor in certain scenarios, but you really have to pixel peep and look at the detail levels, can win against the smaller sensors, just physics. But most of the shots come out almost identical. Also, interestingly enough, in terms of colors, they come out almost identical. At least if you are using Leica Vibrant on the 17 Ultra, then Honor Magic 8 Pro is creating also very vivid and vibrant pictures. When it comes to the ultra-wide angle, both on par. I think the Honor Magic 8 Pro is really good when it comes to the wide angle field of view, and this helps with certain kind of scenarios where you want to photograph a building in a certain place. Very nice with the 12mm. But the 14mm on the 17 Ultra are no slouch either, especially as I think we have a bit more processing, a bit more over-sharpening on the Magic 8 Pro. With the Xiaomi 17 Ultra can keep it a bit more clear and still get the same kind of results in terms of detail levels. At nighttime, both are a bit of a mixed bag. The Xiaomi is struggling a bit with the slower shutter speed, where the Magic 8 Pro is like almost giving you an oil painting But this is basically reversing themselves with the main camera photo quality that basically has the same issue. Magic 8 Pro, a bit of a slower shutter speed, has some trouble there, and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is a bit of painting here and there. Zoom and portrait photo quality is a huge difference between those two. Where the Honor Magic 8 Pro definitely improved itself there, it's still falling behind the 17 Ultra, especially when it comes to the longer zoom ranges. We have more flexibility with the 17 Ultra, starting from 75mm, so for portraits this helps definitely. And the Honor Magic 8 Pro is also very weak in terms of portraits. Still, it's an improvement in comparison to all the other flagships that came before in terms of portraits. But still, it is over-sharpening, it's still a bit artificial, especially at 85mm or 135 if you zoom in. It's just not, it's really, this is where the Xiaomi 17 Ultra shines, the portrait shots, and where the Honor doesn't stand a chance, and where, yeah, the Xiaomi is kicking Honor's ass when it comes to portrait shots. It's just so good on the Xiaomi that it's nowhere close on the Honor. But the rest is quite good, especially when you take a look at the shots even at 10x. You really have to take a look at the differences there. It is more natural on the 17 Ultra thanks to its variable zoom and 100mm maximum optical zoom range. It also gets better shots at 10x, more detailed, more natural looking than the Honor Magic 8 Pro. The Magic 8 Pro has also an AI mode, but I really have to say as soon as you turn on AI mode on the Magic 8 Pro, first of all, it needs way more processing than the AI mode that you turn on the 17 Ultra. More processing time, I really don't like that, and the result is bad, and this is probably one reason why it's turned off by default on the Magic 8 Pro, and you really have to tap to turn it on, because the results are just not good with the processing of AI. And I really wish Honor would stop this and bake good algorithms in there that look natural and not too artificial. Video recording quality, huge difference between those two as well. You didn't maybe see it in the daylight shots. Yes, with the selfie, better HDR on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. I don't know why Honor is putting such a bad selfie cam. I even think that the Magic 6 RSR had a better selfie cam than the 8 Pro, but also autofocus 6 RSR. But the ultra-wide angle, better HDR on the 17 Ultra. The field of view difference is negligible here because I think the Xiaomi 17 Ultra also features a bit better stabilization. And don't get me talking about the main camera sensor. But overall, the Magic 8 Pro is just looking bad in video. It's just over-processed looking, over-sharpened, too much HDR, combined with goofy colors that are way too warm always. The white balance is way too warm. And they didn't fix it. They had so much time to fix it right now, and they still didn't fix it. It's just not good on the Magic 8 Pro. I really don't. It's the weakest video performance that I ever had on an Honor Magic device. Every Magic device before was better in terms of what at the time it came out it could compare with. But it's just falling behind very ridiculously also at night time. Yes, both are prone to those lens flare effects. I think they are no Vivo size coating that they have, or size coating that they have. But the Xiaomi is handling it a little bit more gracefully. And especially when it comes to the video, yes, there are sometimes some jitters with the Xiaomi, but and some artifacts you can see, but it's nowhere near the horrible night video that you saw on the Honor with like my face being completely pixelated at one point when you go into the dark. And the jitters on the Honor Magic 8 Pro, even though both are using night mode and 24 frames per second, is just not good. So video performance is super weak on the 8 Pro, and I would even say it's weaker than it was on the 7. Is it weaker than the 7? It's definitely weaker than what I experienced on the 6 RSR. So I'm not sure what's going on there with the video performance on Honor. They really have to improve upon that. Hopefully they can do this with tons of software updates. Front-facing camera. It's interesting because it's more artificial looking on the 17 Ultra at daylight. It's more natural on the Honor Magic 8 Pro at daylight, but at nighttime it's complete opposite. Like the Honor is cranking up the processing there, so I almost look like a doll, where the Xiaomi 17 Ultra keeps it real. I would wish the Xiaomi could keep it real as well at daylight, then I would give it even more points there. It has autofocus, which is also quite nice. The Honor Magic doesn't have autofocus, but I didn't know it because I thought it has, because you can put something in front of your face, even though it's like, I don't know, was it 10, 15 centimeters in front of your face, it's still in focus, which is quite interesting. But it doesn't have autofocus on the Magic 8 Pro. Anyway, camera UI. Camera UI wise, both very identical. The Honor has also now new swipe gestures that you can swipe down, you can swipe up now for a context menu, and it's close to your fingertips, so you can get to your contextual menu pretty easily with just a swipe, which is quite cool. The Xiaomi can do this a little bit longer already. The 17 Pro Max, I was already praising their new UI being even a bit more advanced there. So both are very good when it comes to the camera UI. Still room for improvements, but it is pretty good. In terms of extra features, that is a clear win for the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. They took even features away from the Honor Magic 8 Pro, like the movie mode that I really, really like. And I'm not talking about the fake bokeh mode, video mode. I'm talking about the movie mode that had different kind of LUTs that you can directly bake into the shot, and it looked very cinematic, and it had something, yeah, like a portrait video mode on Vivo more comparison. But the Vivo used it for fake bokeh. The Honor didn't so much. What the Honor had as a specialty was like, it was the one mode that rescued the video performance on the Magic 6 Pro and Magic 6 RSR, because it was so good. It was not over sharpened, hadn't so much contrast, and you can choose LUTs, and you can record it 4K up to 30 frames per second, and it was baking in those LUTs, and it looked fantastic in my opinion, very cinematic as well. And this mode is gone now on the Magic 8 Pro. This would have rescued the video performance, at least giving it 4.6 points, because you can record good video. But now, yeah, you have to rely on lock mode recording on the Magic 8 Pro, which is one feature they added. I think it wasn't there before, I'm not sure. But it's still, why making it so cumbersome? Why taking something that with less processing power was possible on the predecessors, like I say, the Magic 6 Pro, but now it's not possible on the 8 Pro anymore. Hope they will bring it back. Maybe it's just licenses for the LUTs, but they're still shipping the LUTs, just the mode is gone. I don't get it. Honor's video performance is a downgrade on the 8 Pro, and I really hate to say it. It is really not good for video for a top flagship phone. And the Ultra is not, because the same camera specifications, they didn't do anything there in terms of cameras much. It's not being a huge improvement. Anyway, the extra features much more on the 17 Ultra. I also like the different profiles that you can set up for the photos. You have fast shot mode, which is super, super cool with the outlines. Reminds me of like the rangefinder Leica style. It's just so much better there. Honor doesn't have anything to fight against that, which is a bit of a shame. I really have to say, so more points there for the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. So what does it end up with in the ranking system? You can see that the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is on rank number 3. So here we have the Xiaomi, 4.71 point, and the Honor Magic 8 Pro is still in the top 10, but it is number 7 here. Where the big difference is, what is the one that is better? The Vivo X100 Ultra is better, has the same main camera sensor quality, ultra wide angle a bit weaker, but better zoom for sure, telezoom, better video recording quality. Oh, with this horrible selfie cam on the Vivo X100 Ultra, but I have to check it again with Origin S6. Maybe I will do a comparison if I have still the possibility to use the Magic 8 Pro. Autofocus performance is the same, of course. Front-facing camera weak on the X100 Ultra. Camera UI on par with the Magic, but extra features way more there on the Vivo. So this is why the Vivo is winning there. So it's basically the zoom and portraits way better on Vivo for sure, especially also the portraits. And then the X100 Pro better than the X8 Ultra, also better there. The 15 Ultra, so the Magic 8 Pro is winning against the Xiaomi 15 Ultra that had a weaker ultra wide angle, had roughly the same kind of zoom and portrait photo quality, had better video recording quality, however. It's just that the front-facing camera on the 15 Ultra was not so good. So this is where the Magic 8 Pro is winning. And I think the Xiaomi 15 Ultra had 4.5 points there when it comes to the extra features, so a bit of more extra features. Yeah, that's the closest that you can see to the Magic 8 Pro. So yes, the Magic 8 Pro is winning against the 15 Ultra. It is climbing up there because they improved the cameras for sure, but it still cannot beat Xiaomi's current flagship Ultra at all. It cannot beat Vivo's Ultra or even Pro device. It cannot beat Oppo's Ultra or even Oppo's Pro. I'm pretty sure the Find X9 Pro would also win against the 8 Pro there. As much as I like the Honor Magic 8 Pro as a device in general, the cameras still has a bit of stuff to improve upon. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.